Hello everyone. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope this is working. I hope it's working. Is it working? I hope it is. Let me know if you can hear this and me. Let me know if you can hear me and this and the stream and everything's working fine. We're going to be talking about a couple things. Mainly the new Doctor Who magazine cover has dropped. David Tennant was on Saturday Night Takeaway recently, so we're going to be going over that, as well as a couple of Screenrant articles which caught my attention for better or for worse. I assume you guys can hear me. I haven't seen anything to the contrary just yet. If you can, just say hello so that I know that you're hearing this loud and clear. Um, yeah, so we're going to be talking about a few things. And it's interesting when it comes to myself, whilst we're doing a literally at school right now, everyone be quiet, yeah, true. Can hear your lovely voice, Darius. Thank you. It's interesting. I've been unwell for the longest time, and I'm finally starting to recuperate. I'm feeling a bit better, so you're probably, hopefully, theoretically, gonna see more of me now in the coming days, weeks, months, as usual, basically. Obviously, the new DWM comes out March 2nd, I believe, so I'll inevitably keep be covering that and all of its goodies. Obviously, there's a main focus for this next issue, which we'll get to. And yeah. But I wanted to start off with a smaller story first, because I thought, why not? I saw this article and it kind of grabbed my attention, and albeit not for the right reasons, I'll be honest. It's a Screenrant article, and I kind of wanted to debunk it a bit, because quite frankly, I think it made some bad points, or at least the premise of it, because I've not read the whole article, but the premise is somewhat disagreeable, in my humble opinion. Matt Smith has broken a 60-year-long Doctor Who trend with success after his stint as the Time Lord, and that is likely to continue with Ncuti Gatwa. Now, on the face of it, I disagree with this premise entirely. The premise, of course, being that Matt Smith was the only actor to basically succeed outside of the show after he left it, which just isn't true. David Tennant is in literally everything. Christopher Eccleston went on to do numerous high-profile pieces of work. Peter Capaldi was in the DC world with Suicide Squad, the new one with James Gunn. And even going back into, like, classic Doctors, there's, like, so many other things they did. Obviously, Sylvester McCoy in The Hobbit as well. Like, there's so many things that these actors have done after Doctor Who that it kind of feels demeaning to say that Matt Smith is the only one to have made a success. But let's read it first. It's true. Matt Smith's post-Doctor Who success breaks a 60-year trend. Matt Smith has broken a 60-year Doctor Who trend with his success after his stint as the Time Lord, and that is likely to continue with Ncuti Gatwa. Again, I disagree with the premise, but let's talk about it. Matt Smith's success has grown only since his time in Doctor Who, and this breaks a bizarre 60-year trend. Matt Smith became the 11th Doctor in 2009, taking over from David Tennant and first appeared in 2010 Doctor Who Season 5, Episode 1, The 11th Hour. Matt's Doctor proved popular as he continued to develop the light, joyful Time Lord with darker, tormented notes, and plenty of new villains emerged to fight him. I don't disagree so far. Doctor Who is a British television classic and has enjoyed global success with a huge fan following, even before the Doctor Who revival with Christopher Eccleston. Doctor Who has already had decades of beloved episodes and still watched and discussed during the modern era. Doctor Who's success is passed on actors who become the titular Time Lord, and they become renowned for their time in the TARDIS. Despite this, their roles after Doctor Who never seem to outdo playing the Doctor. Again, I disagree. Like, I think there's been plenty of examples of that not being the case. Doctor Who actors have always prospered after leaving the BBC show, but that success traditionally had been limited to British television. Matt Smith has been able to break away into a Hollywood career. Okay, but even if we go on that metric, like I say, Peter Capaldi, Christopher Eccleston even did a Thor film. So again, not necessarily true, but Matt Smith has been able to break into a Hollywood career with credits like Morbius, Last Night in Soho, and Terminator Genesis. Most notably, however, Smith's David Targaryen in House of Dragon became one of the most iconic TV characters of 2022. Matt Smith may still be known for playing the 11th Doctor, but unlike his TARDIS predecessors, he has unquestionably cracked Hollywood. And even actually, I disagree with this as well, because David Tennant was Barty Crouch Jr. in Harry Potter, and I'm pretty sure he did Kilgrave for Jessica Jones, which was a Marvel thing. So again, this is just not true. And again, I want to make it clear, I love Matt Smith. You all know he's like my favourite. But to say he's the only one to have success after the Doctor Who is kind of a laughable statement. The fifth Doctor, Pete Davidson, has been successful within British TV thanks to the credits in All for Richards vs. Small and Gentleman Jack, while the sixth Doctor actor Colin Baker continued in the sci-fi realm with low-budget projects such as the Air Zone Solution. Like their predecessors, neither broke onto a global level, so Sylvester McCoy enjoyed a high-profile part in the Hobbit movies, but only long after the seventh Doctor left Doctor Who. Wait, so are we saying there's an expiry date on these actors? And even David Tennant's success remains eclipsed by Doctor Who. Good Omens and Jessica Jones, his most prominent project since regenerating. With House of the Dragon, Matt Smith elevated his career to a level no former Doctor has. Again, I disagree. Like David is known for loads. Doctor Who is probably his most prolific, but by no means is it his only standout role. After Jodie Whittaker's 13th Doctor regenerated, the familiar-looking 14th Doctor will be passing on his sonic screwdriver to Ncuti Gatwa during the 60th anniversary special episodes. Unlike some previous Doctors, Gatwa already commands a global audience thanks to his role as Eric in Sex Education. This means he could easily follow in the footsteps of Matt Smith's post-Doctor Who success. The 15th Doctor actor has also started building a Hollywood career by landing a role in Barbie, so it's reasonable to assume that after he leaves Doctor Who, Ncuti Gatwa will be able to emulate the success Matt Smith has found. I don't disagree. I think Ncuti Gatwa is going to be incredibly busy after Doctor Who. But to suggest he's the only one, like I say, it's just, I don't know, it rubs me up the wrong way. Like Smith, Gatwa is joining Doctor Who at a relatively young age, but like Smith, Gatwa is joining Doctor Who at a relatively young age, but already has more notable acting credits under his belt, creating a built-in advantage. Even more importantly, Gatwa's Doctor Who will have a bigger reach, as it will be available on Disney+, and not limited to delayed international releases outside the UK. That's true. I don't disagree with any of that. But I disagree with the notion that this is trying to say that, like, basically, Smith is the only one to have a successful career outside of Doctor Who, which just sort of isn't true. David Tennant was in HP pre-Who, but your point still stands. I swear it was like, when did that movie come out? But still, you get what I mean, right? Like, it's just not true. Don't get me wrong, I love Matt Smith, but to suggest he's the only one who had success after Doctor Who is just wrong, you know? I could have sworn that movie came out in, like, 2008, but I could be wrong. I guess he would have been filming it before then. I should point out, while I fully agree with you on the Screenrant article, David Tennant was in Harry Potter before he started Doctor Who. Okay, so I was wrong on that, but still, point still stands, you know? Peter Capaldi has done, Suicide Squad after the fact. He doesn't need his career launching, which the others have often used it. I'm not sure what that means, but yeah, Goblet Fire was that 2005? Damn, I thought that was later than that. Damn, okay. Some reason I had it in my head that was at least like 2007. It does just seem like a don't call the classic actors, and even then, like, you know, they do mention Sylvester in The Hobbit, but like, you know, just because it was late after doesn't mean it didn't happen. Paul McGann, I believe, had a huge role in one of the Alien films as well. It was mostly cut, unfortunately, and that might have been before he took the role of the Doctor. I don't know, but you know, it's just waffle in my opinion. Absolute waffle. Not a very good article in my opinion. Do better, Screenrant. But there is this other one that I want to talk about, which we'll get into now, which is Torchwood revival chances addressed by Doctor Who spin-off writer. Torchwood writer Phil Ford, so you might know for co-writing Waters of Mars, and as well as being a writer on Torchwood, calls the Doctor Who universe so huge that it's big enough to warrant a spin-off, a revival of the spin-off Torchwood. Torchwood writer Phil Ford speaks positively of the revival chances of the Doctor Who spin-off, existing in the same universe as and borrowing some of the characters from the 2005 iteration of Doctor Who. The spin-off Torchwood ran originally from 2006 to 2011. Doctor Who continued its season well after Torchwood ended, and while it's and will have its next season this year, starring Ncuti Gatwa as the 50th Doctor. That's not true. The next season is next year with Ncuti Gatwa. There's some specials this year, but the full stuff is happening next year. So, you know. Torchwood Falls hints that Gatwa's upcoming Doctor Who stint is not only Doctor Who's story that needs expanding, as Ford tells the Radio Times, he always wanted to see more done with UNIT, though he has no idea what is going on in the great man's mind, as in Russell, I assume. Ford believes the Doctor Who universe is expanded enough to warrant a Torchwood sequel. Check out Ford's full quote below. I've always wanted to see more done with UNIT. I've always thought there's stuff that would be done that could be done with UNIT there. And of course, I think every case for bringing back a version of Torchwood. But the thing about Doctor Who Universe is that it's so huge over all these years, 60 years. There's so many places you could go to develop spin-offs, but I honestly have no idea what's going on in the great man's mind. So we'll have to wait and find out. I think there's every chance, even if it was, to come back in time going back in time to an earlier iteration of Torchwood, which in fact we did do in the show. But absolutely, I don't see why we couldn't do that. It's science fiction. It's Doctor Who. You can do all sorts of things, as I'm sure will happen. So yeah, that's interesting. And then the rest of it's kind of just waffle, but I wanted to... Oh, I think I pressed the wrong button then. I wanted to talk about that because the thing he mentions, which honestly I'm more convinced by, is the idea of a unit spin-off. Now, I have said for a while I reckon a unit spin-off might happen. Just with how prevalent the unit task force have been in this new era so far, just to our knowledge, you know, they've existed in the 60th anniversary, series 14. They were in the centenary. I feel like there's something building up with UNIT. But Tennant is much more well known in Britain and in the US. The argument that he's only successful is dumb, but Matt Smith easily has the most global success of any of the Doctors. I mean, probably, but I still think it's dumb to say that he's the only one to make a success out of his career after Doctor Who. I still think it's a flawed premise. Eccleston was in a few high-profile projects, including one with Daniel Craig before he took on the role. That's true. Yeah. Famously, he was in Second Coming, which is kind of what suggested... Well, not suggested, but that's kind of what made Russell think of him for the part. But yeah, Phil Ford talking about, you know, spin-offs. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. There was also an interesting Radio Times quote from Carol Ann Ford talking about how she would have liked to see her character go. Hold on, let me see if I can find that. But yeah, when it comes to that, like, obviously a Torchwood spin-off is kind of difficult because, like, you know, recent controversies, but you could say in a different time period. Honestly, though, I see a unit spin-off as being more likely at this stage. Where is it? Here we are. Yeah, so there was this, which was... Oh, I don't know why my voice is cracking at the moment. Doctor Who's Carol Ann Ford wishes Susan was more interesting, like Rose, saying, I could have broken the mould. The classic companions of Doctor Who are still beloved 60 years after the show's beginnings, but that doesn't mean they were out without their flaws. Carol Ann Ford, who played Susan, the very first companion who travelled in the TARDIS with her grandfather, the first Doctor, William Hartnell, she's now revealed she remembers her time on the show with mixed feelings, ultimately wishing she had more to do. Speaking exclusively to RadioTimes.com, Ford said she looks back on her experience with great fondness and sometimes frustration. She added, the initial conversation I had with Verity Lambert, founding producer, they asked me what my skills were, and at the time, I was a trained dancer, acrobat, swimmer, horse rider. So just think what they could have flung at me, which they didn't. Damn, I didn't know that. That's really impressive, though. As it happened, what Susan did was, I wouldn't say boring, it was an interesting thing to do, and it was great to be in something with such marvellous people, but if only they had allowed me to do more courageous things, or more interesting and exciting things. I mean, imagine getting on horseback running away from Daleks. That would be much more fun than just trying to hide and find a little corridor to hide in somewhere. They didn't use any of these things, which is a shame. For continued, she could have had a much broader personality, a much more interesting personality. They wanted her to identify as the girl next door, so all the interesting, I think, things anyway that I was trying to put into her were eliminated after the first episode, which is a shame. Yeah, I think I've heard Caroline Ford say this before that like she kind of wanted Doctor Susan to be more of a, I guess, courageous figure, more of a kind of an intellectual figure than she was. I could have done all sorts of stunts. I was very fit when I first saw Billie Piper doing that incredible thing. She did swing across the ropes above a fiery pit in Rose in 2005. I said, that's not fair. I could have done that. There were so many things I kept thinking, that's not fair. Why didn't I get a chance to do that? I could have broken the mold. Yeah, it's kind of sad, really, because, like, Susan, unfortunately, as important as Susan is, she does kind of devolve into just kind of being scared of things. For departed in Doctor Who 1964 in the show, Susan falls in love with a human man, David Campbell, and the Doctor decides she should stay with David, locking her out the TARDIS, leaving her on Earth. Responding to the exit years later, Ford joked, I could have gone out with more of a boom, but that probably would have meant exploding me or something, or sending me off into space. That would have been interesting, wouldn't it? Just push me out of the TARDIS and say, okay, look after yourself now. It's nice that like the classic actors can look at their times with like fondness and humor as well, and kind of seeing some things that could have been changed about it. There are a million different ways of getting rid of her if they wanted to get rid of her without having her marry against her will. The idea, when you come to think of it, of a grandfather who's supposed to love her sending her out into a world inhabited by Daleks that was being destroyed generally is a bit unbelievable, really. But he obviously had great faith in me. But yeah, interesting article. Interesting points from Caroline Ford there. Ooh, there we are. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Are your headphones sellotaped? Yes, they are. I don't have the money for new ones right now. Jodie's filming a new show in Australia there too. I did see some pictures from that with her in like some sort of white suit type thing. I'm not sure what show it was. Always been more of a Vicky fan. Got all of Susan's missed potential. Yeah, I do like Vicky quite a bit. Particularly in things like the Romans. She has a more cheeky energy, which I like. There was another thing I wanted to talk about, which was this, which was a Radio Times article, which I wanted to go over. Toby Whithouse would have loved Doctor Who showing a job after rumours. Some fans called for him to get the job. The reveal that Russell T Davies was making a return to Doctor Who shocked the fandom. All throughout the possible discussions of who could take up the mantle, yet names like Happy Valley's Sally Wainwright and Babylon 5's J. Michael Straczynski were floated around, with the latter even mentioning his own desire to steer the flagship show. From the perspective of fans, one of the clearest choices to ascend to the Doctor showrunnership was none other than Toby Whithouse. Giving his reaction to the rumours, he told RadioTimes.com, I'd love to have done it. I really would. It's such a perfect show. I'm so thrilled to be a contributor on it. Whenever I would do an episode, I'd tell my kids, and they'd always ask, can you make it scary? Because they genuinely loved that. It's a kind of very safe introduction to being scared. That fearful adrenaline. Whithouse made his debut in David Tennant's first season, penning Sarah Jane Smith-centric School Reunion, episode before going on to write Vampires of Venice, God Complex, A Town Called Mercy for Matt Smith, as well as Under the Lake Before the Flood two-parter and Lie of the Land for Peter Capaldi. He even had a chance to act in Capaldi's final episode, Twice Upon a Time, facing off against Mark Gatiss as a German soldier suddenly frozen in time. It's very lovely that there was a portion of the fandom that were having conversations about the idea of me as showrunner. I can absolutely say those conversations were never happening at the BBC, he said, speaking recently at Being Human reunion at the BFI South Bank. I don't really think I was ever in contention, but I'd really love to have done it. It always made me laugh when someone said the Daily Mail wrote, Doctor Who is too scary and frightening. Children loved it being scary, that's why they watched it. with RTD's Return to the Fold alongside with RTD's Return to the Fold alongside Whithouse's extensive experience writing for multiple Doctors across the decades, it's always possible we could see the writer return. We could always see the writer asked to return to the show once more in order to frighten children all over again. So yeah, I mean it's surprising to me that he was never actually approached, because I always assumed he would be one of the names that would be, you know, kind of suggested. And since he is so easily realized, many of us are perfectly alright with that. I don't know what that's in reference to. I'm guessing that's David Tennant. A unit show is ideal. Yeah, I think that's what will happen. Theories is a trendsetter. Thank you. I'm guessing you're talking about my beautiful sellotaped headphones. Um, but yeah, it's weird to me that he was never in contention. But yeah, I guess we should talk about the thing that you all came here to talk about, which is Doctor Who magazine has revealed their new cover, and it's a nice cover. It's a nice cover. And this is the cover for the new. Sorry, I just had to check something for a sec. This is the new cover for Doctor Who magazine issue 588, which is going to be featuring and heavily focusing on Sarah Jane Smith. Doctor Who magazine 588 on sale Tuesday, 2nd of March, with the caption "We love Sarah Jane." Russell T Davies leading our celebration of the Sarah Jane adventures. Yeah. And obviously, this will also feature the ongoing, I guess, run of the comics, as in the 14 Doctor comics, as well as, you know, probably some bits and bobs of news here and there, although the majority of the focus will be on Sarah Jane Adventures, which I think is really nice. Obviously, as you all know, I grew up on Sarah Jane Adventures. It's a big deal in my life, you know, when I was younger, and we couldn't watch Doctor Who immediately because my family weren't really into it, bar like me, so I often had to watch it later on. Sarah Jane Adventures was my daytime equivalent that I could watch, you know, when people weren't in the house, so I often did. Yeah, so it's nice to see Elizabeth Sladen being honoured on this cover. There has been some, I guess, dissenting voices with regards to this cover, because it seems that whenever Doctor Who magazine makes a new cover, it seems that there's some contention surrounding it. The main bone of contention here is that David Tennant is as prominently featured as he is. Personally, I don't mind it too much on the basis that it is a very iconic photo shoot for the show, as well as technically being a way for Liz Sladen to feature alongside the current Doctor, which Tennant technically is. This is the thing. I think what a lot of people don't realise when this debate goes on is that the current Doctor is often given priority status on the magazine, and that is technically what David Tennant is. You know, until November 2023, that is who the Doctor is. You know, you might not like that, but that's just the reality. And in terms of this, it's just a nice way of getting her involved with the current Doctor technically, you know. And I just think, at the end of the day, it's a nice picture of both of them, and I don't really mind it that much. It's one of those things. Yeah, it's a nice cover, though. I'll be interested to see what you guys think about that, though. Hey up theories, LORMG. But yeah, I overall I'm not too bothered by it, like a lot of people are. I think it's just a case of, you know, it makes sense. And I also just think, like, at the end of the day, she's still having you know, an issue dedicated to her. Anyways, would you be open to RTD repurposing old stories from Doctor Who comics, books, and even Big Finish for new episodes? And even Big Finish for new episodes of the series, like elements of Beep the Beep DWM comic in the 60th. Yeah, I don't see why not. Yeah, I don't see why not. I think that it's a good thing to try and expand the horizons of the show when it comes to the legacy content that it pulls from. One of my main issues with the legacy content that they've pulled from previously is more just to do with, I guess, like I feel as though with a lot of recent uses of the past, it's been a lot of the same few uses of the past. So things like, oh, it's the Daleks, it's the Cybermen, it's the Master. It's nice to have some new things. Well, I say new things, I mean new as in older things that haven't been as represented is nice to see. Do 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 do. Yeah. I haven't actually got much more to say. This stream, I wanted to do a short stream just to, I guess, keep you all up to date, keep you all updated. I'm probably gonna head off in a bit. Love you guys, thank you. Um, Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you in a bit. I'll take care. Take care. See you in a bit. Bye bye. What Doctor Who figures are you hoping for this year? Anything new? Anything new in 60th Series 14 related?